So now let's implement the send message handler. Now first, one thing we need to add is in the text form field, we need to add a controller. So similar when we had the email controller and password controller, we'll add one here. Then we're going to call it message controller. And let's add that at the top. So here we're going to say final underscore message controller equals to text editing controller. And then in the send message handler, what we're going to do is check if underscore message controller dot text dot trim dot is not empty. So there's actual text in the text field. Then we need to actually commit this data to the database and then display on the screen. So for that, we're going to create a try catch block. And if an error does occur, we want to show a snack bar. So before we showed how to show alert dialogues, but this time let's change it up a bit and then show you how to show a snack bar, which is a small message that shows up at the bottom. So we're going to say scaffold, and we're going to use scaffold messenger, and then call .off context .show snack bar. And then we'll add a snack bar widget. So we're going to say const snack bar. And then for the content, we'll add the text. So we're going to say text, and then failed to send message. Now let's also add a background color here. So we're going to say background color to be purple color. Now let's quickly look at how this might look like. So here we're going to say throw error. And then let's test this. So first, let's say we type nothing and then we click send. We are not going to go into this if statement. So if we do this, nothing will happen. But if we do write something and then we click send, it should go in, but then it's going to throw an error and then show the snack bar. So here the snack bar popped out and says failed to send message. Now let's look at actually adding the message to the database. And for that, we'll have to use the Firestore Database. So similar to how we got the auth instance, so we can say final underscore db equals to firebase firestore.instance. And then in the try block, we are going to call underscore db dot collection messages dot add, and then we'll add the data that we want. Now let's quickly look at what collection messages is and essentially what are we adding inside. So let's quickly look at the Firestore dashboard available to us on Firebase. So Firestore is a NoSQL database, and the way it works is very simple. It has collections and documents. All collection is a list of documents, and documents consist of key value pairs. As an example, you could have a collection of users, and then every document will be an instance of that user. And then the key value pairs for that user would be the user's name, date of birth, and so on. Now in our database, we're going to have a collection of messages at the top level. So here let's add a messages collection. And then every document within would be a separate message. So we can auto-generate an ID here. And then for simplicity, let's add one field. So we'll say message, and then say hello, for example. So as you can see what the structure looks like, you have collection of messages, you have list of message documents, and then you have the actual data within that message. So you can have the message, we'll also store the user ID, so the person who actually sent that message, and so on. Now you could also nest collections within a particular document, but there are specific cases where you would need that. So for example, if you're building a social media application, you could have a nested collection within a user document. This could be the user's likes or user's posts or something like that. But in our case, we don't need to use nested collections. So let's look at what adding a new message will look like. So as you can see here, we're using the instance of Firebase Firestore, and then we're calling .collection, and then we're passing in the name of the collection, which is messages. Now here, if we did not create this collection, then when we add a new item for it, it will be automatically created for us. And then when we call add, we pass in a map of key value pairs. So in our case, we're going to add an ID. So it will be the user.uid, and then the name will be user.displayname, and then the message itself. So message will be underscore message controller dot text dot trim, and then lastly we're going to have a created add field. Then we're going to call field value dot server timestamp. So here we're using the timestamp from the server itself because people might be in different time zones, and if you're using the clock of the device itself, it won't be synchronized. So that's why we need to use the timestamp from the server. So this is also asynchronous, so we can call await here, so we can wait for this to finish. And for that we need to make this async, and then add future of type void. Now let's also empty the text field, so we're going to call message controller dot text equals to an empty string. So now let's come here and let's delete this document for now, and then let's bring back the application, and then let's type something here. So say hello world, and then let's send this message, and then you can see that it was added here, and you can see the data. So message hello world, the name is Mohammed, and then the ID of the user and the created at. Cool. So now the next step is we want to read the data in real time inside of the body.